Hello everybody, welcome back to ReaperMinisTV. This episode we'll be starting off with a Okay, so here we have the Razig army, or at least part of the army, the ones that are going to be standing on the beach or the sandy area. And they're pretty much the same as you saw them last time. The only real difference here is I've painted a light brown into the recesses of the base, and I like the Reaper square bases quite a bit because they do have that little recessed area and a lip at the edge of it, so I should be able to get sand and then eventually the water effects in there and still have a nice clean edge around them. As a little bit of decoration to some of the bases, I'm going to use these hobby shells that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. I got this bag for just a couple of dollars. It's pretty cheap. And here I've got them spilling out onto my cutting board. Obviously I'm not going to come anywhere near all of these. I'm probably only going to end up using a very small number of them, but I want to take a look at everything that's in here, see what's really going to be good for the bases, have some diversity between the shells so they don't all look the same, but also have them not be huge to where they'd be grossly out of place. Now, just because they are big seashells, they're going to look larger than normal compared to the miniature, but I think that'll be okay. Okay, so here's my first pick through the seashells, and I like these. I have some small ones, some large ones, some colorful ones, some pretty bland looking ones, and this is just the first batch I'm looking at, and here we are compared to one of the standard Razig guys in the army. So you can see how they're going to shape up to where if they were on his base, and this is probably going to be pretty typical for any of the figures. And then I went through and further refined my selection down to these 5. And I picked 5 because I've got 10 guys who are going to be on nothing but sand or on the beach, and I don't want all of them to have shells because that would just look really strange or out of place for every single guy to be standing next to a giant shell. So I went ahead and picked 5 guys that I wanted to put shells on their bases, and these are the 5, and I've already gone ahead and super glued these down to the base, and I think they look pretty good. None of them are too big. I think the green one there is probably the largest, but it really looks okay. I think they'll come out doing just fine. And here you can see all 10 of the guys that are going to be on the sand, and I've gone ahead and edged in with black around the top lip of the base. So where it has that recessed area underneath where the sand is going to go, I've already gone in and gone around to the edge of that and into the base a tiny bit with black, and I did that now so I don't have to do it later when the sand is already in there and dry and end up messing that up. So this is kind of just a getting ready for the sand step. And here we are with the sand I'm going to use. Picked this up at Hobby Lobby also. You can see it's just a couple of dollars and it's going to last me a long time. I went with a slightly brown or tan sand instead of a white. White sandy beach sounds nice and all, but against the deep red and a little bit of green in these models, it would probably come out looking more like snow than sand. So I went with a slightly tan sand instead. Alright, we're ready to start gluing the figures, or getting the sand on them, and I've filled the base with just straight white glue, and I'm going to dip them into my tray of sand here. Sorry for my arm being in the way. And we're just going to dip them in the sand, swish them around a little bit, and then leave them over in the corner buried in sand. I'm going to do this to all of the figures. Just kind of get them dug in a little bit. Here's another one. And you didn't really come to watch me dip another 8 guys after this. So here's this one, and then they're all going to be in there, and they're going to sit there in a while to get dry. And now, magically, they're all done, and we're going to pull them out and tap off the excess sand. And sorry for the dark shadow there, need some more light. But we've got all the guys coming out of the sand, and then magically we have all of them done here. And you can see I just left it sand and the shells. And I think the shells are enough adornment or enough detail, extra detail on the sand to make it look good. But I didn't need a whole lot else on there. The only thing else that's going to happen is I'm going to go around the entire edge with black, and these guys will be done. Okay, we're going to get back to reviews now. The next Razig army update should get us into the water effects, and then pretty much the army's done. All the figures we're going to look at today for the rest of this episode are from the Chronoscope line, starting off with Sleeping Beauty. This is a 3-piece miniature, but 2 of the pieces are going to fit on the underside of the model, and they're only going to be seen if you're looking at it from the front or the back, obviously, but you could leave them off if you didn't want to go through the assembly part of that. But they're really small pieces, not going to hurt you to do them at all, and what they are some little pieces of tree branches or brambles or flowers, I guess, that fit coming up under the underside of the kind of stone bed that Sleeping Beauty is sleeping on. This is an amazingly well detailed miniature. You've got the stone bed that she's sleeping on, and there's the little tree branches and flowers and brambles that I talked about that are coming from under the bed, but also that are sculpted as part of the bed itself, that are just kind of moving all around her. So she's probably been asleep for a while, and they're just growing all around her. She's got a very sheer sheet that's on top of her, but otherwise she's going to be nude underneath, and there's little hints at that in various places of the model, but nothing objectionable at all. Just an amazing looking model here. It would be a real delight to paint. As far as uses are concerned, that's where you might be a little bit limited. Obviously using it as part of a diorama would be great for this figure. I think you could also use it in a skirmish fantasy game as an objective marker, or as whatever one side of the game is trying to protect and the other side is trying to either destroy or capture or something like that. So beautiful model, maybe a little bit limited on the uses, but absolutely outstanding. This next figure is Devil Girl, and she's billed as being a supervillain. It's a single-piece miniature of a girl, as you'd expect. She's carrying a trident or pitchfork in her left hand. In her right hand, she has a spell or a little bit of fire or a spell effect that's starting to manifest. Around the back, you can see she's got a long devil's tail that's coming out from behind her coat and curls up around her right shoulder. She's got two horns that poke out on her forehead. She's wearing a bustier that's showing off a lot of cleavage, and to me, her whole costume is reminiscent, or maybe makes me think of, a Halloween costume. But she is a supervillain. I think you could use her as a superhero. If Hellboy can be a good guy, then I figure Devil Girl can be a good girl or superhero. There was a bit of cleaning needed. There were little bits of flash on the model in various places and some mold lines that were visible, and most of the cleaning was along the bottom edge of her coat. But I think it's a good addition to the expanding line of superheroes and supervillains coming from Reaper. Both of these next two girls would be very at home in a future game, post-apocalyptic game, Mad Max kind of game, near future disaster or zombie holocaust game. The first one is Bobby Joe. She's a redneck princess. It's a single-piece miniature of a girl who's wearing some cowboy boots and very short shorts, along with a shirt that's tied in the front, kind of Daisy Duke style. Also goes along with the shorts from the old Dukes of Hazzard show that was out when I was much younger. But she's carrying a sniper rifle or hunting rifle that's resting against her hip. Only cleaning really necessary on the miniature was some mold lines that were on the inside of her legs and also on the butt of the rifle itself. Very easy to clean. She was ready to be based and primed in pretty much no time at all. The second girl is another release in the Zombie Survivor line from Reaper in the Chronoscope line of figures. This is Joplin, so I figure she's from Joplin, Missouri, or Missouri, depending on where you come from. She is carrying two pistols. The automatic in her left hand is pointing forward, and the revolver that's in her right hand is kind of up at the ready. And she is wearing significantly more clothing than Bobby Joe, our redneck princess. Joplin has jeans on, a shirt, what looks like a denim jacket over that. There's a pouch over on her right-hand side that actually looks like a little med kit, so she is ready for whatever happens during the zombie holocaust. And Joplin needed basically nothing in the way of cleaning. She was very clean coming out of the blister, ready to be based and then primed and painted. So both of these I think are good additions to any kind of modern, near future, or post-apocalyptic type game, and can fill a variety of roles from NPCs to player characters, or pretty much anything you might need them for. Alright everybody, thanks for watching this episode of ReaperMinisTV. We'll see you again soon.